Needs no introduction, but let's take a look anyway.
He is the voice behind the world's greatest detective. Welcome, the one and only voice of Batman, Kevin Conroy.
I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman. Hey everybody.
How's it going?
Good. Everybody's been incredible here.
Really?
It's a great community.
Have you been to South Texas before?
Oh man. When I first got out of Juilliard, I joined a company called the Acting Company. It was formed by John Houseman with graduates of the school. And we toured a production of King Lear and Mother Courage, the Brecht play. And we played all over the country. And at the end of the tour, we played Broadway in New York. But some of the stops, we played Austin, Dallas, San Marcos, Edinburgh, San Antonio. We did a whole Texas swing. But I was 22, so that was, what, 10 years ago? But yeah, that was 40 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, welcome back to the Rio Grande Valley.
Thank you, it's beautiful.
Is it just as hot as you remember it to be?
It's a lot more built up. It's a lot more built up. It was much more rural then.
Of course.
It was a real farming area.
Well, now we've been watching a lot of Batman. We can keep our streets safe now, so that's why. If you guys want to be part of this panel, you can too. All you got to do is go to Twitter and put your question there with the hashtag STXCC, and you'll be able to ask your question. It'll pop up on the board right behind us back there, just like that, and I'll be able to ask him the question. You can post pictures, anything Batman related you like, and of course I can ask him that as well, or you can text your question, and the number's up there as well. So we have to start. I mean, what else am I going to have to say? But Batman, it's defined your entire career.
Isn't that weird? No, I mean, that's not, look, people always ask, how do you get into voice acting? And I say, well, not the way I did. Any other way than the way I did. I kind of stumbled into it. There's a saying, life is what happens to you while you're busy making other plans. Have you ever heard that saying? It's like, you can't plan on a lot of stuff. All you can do is be ready for the opportunities when they come your way. I planned on being a stage actor. I moved to New York when I was 17. I got a scholarship to go to Juilliard. I got my first apartment, and I've been supporting myself ever since as an actor. I worked my way through school. I've been on my own since then, and I made a living as an actor. I started off doing off-Broadway for Joe Papp at the Public Theater, Shakespeare in the Park, regional Shakespeare, and then that led to some Broadway work, that led to some television work, and I happened to be in LA doing a TV pilot, and my agent said, you know, they're putting together a new show over at Warner Brothers, an animated series for Batman, go over and give it a shot for a voiceover. And I said, new series? I was so naive about it, I didn't even know it had never been an animated series. I just assumed, because Batman had been around forever, that it must have already been a series. But, so when I went in, I was a clean slate. I didn't have any background on it at all. And I went in and I met Bruce Timm and Eric Radomski and Andrea Romano, and these were like the gold standard of creators in animation. And I didn't know that. You know, I was such an idiot. And, but because I didn't know that, I had no nervousness about meeting them. I wasn't apprehensive, you know what I mean? And so I was able to be completely free in the audition. And Bruce Timm said, well, what's your experience with Batman? What do you know about Batman? And I said, well, I know the Adam West show from the 60s. And he said, no. We love Adam, but that's not what we're doing. That's not what we're doing. And he described to me the Dark Knight, the legacy, the murder of his parents as a child, how he's living to avenge their deaths, how he's lives in the shadows, a sort of a tortured, misunderstood character, avenging the crimes done to his family and fighting for justice. And I thought, this is an archetype of a hero. This is like a Shakespearean hero. It's like a Greek hero. So I just approached it the way you would a classic character, Orestes or Achilles. And I just put myself in my imagination in that situation, and I just came up with this sound that put me in this very dark place for that Batman scene. And they hired me on the spot.
Now, when you did get the role and you started season 1 and season 2, did you think, and this is a question from one of our fans, did you think that you were going to be doing this role for as long as you are doing it now?
Oh, God, no. No, you get a job, they book you for, maybe 7 episodes. That's all you know you have. And when you go in each day, you sign a whole series of contracts for that day. So that's all that you're guaranteed, is the day that you're there. Each time you walk in, you sign a whole new series of contracts. So there's no hold on you, and you have no hold on them. So all you really know, if they say, okay, we've got an order for 7 shows, you kind of hope they're going to use you for all 7. And then they get the back 9, and then they might get another 10, and then suddenly they get a season 2. So you never know, month by month, how long this is going to go. So it started recording in 91, went on the air in 92 on Fox, originally as a primetime show, which is why the shows were so sophisticated. It was never designed, it had to be kid-friendly, but it was never designed to be a kid's show. It was really geared more towards adults. That's why the shows are so sophisticated. The artwork was so beautiful, with a full symphony score and big casts. It was never done on the cheap. It was always done with a big budget, and that's why it still looks so beautiful. But, so when I got the booking, I didn't know it was gonna last more than 1 season. And then a 2nd season, and a 3rd season, then Batman, the animated series, becomes The Adventures of Batman, and then that becomes Batman Beyond, and then that becomes the Justice League, and then there are the direct-to-video movies, and then the games start, and we're into the Arkham universe, So you never know what life's gonna bring you, and you just have to be ready. A friend of mine has a great saying. She says, life throws nothing but curveballs. I love that saying, because it's like you never know what's coming, and you just have to be ready to hit them. You have to be ready to hit curveballs. And I feel like I've been spending my career doing that. I am. I never knew I'd end up at Comic-Cons doing this. When I was at Juilliard working with John Houseman. I mean, how would you know?
You said you trained to be a thespian on stage.
Oh yeah.
And then
I haven't done a play in years, but I love working on stage. It's why, yeah. I think that's why I like coming to Comic-Cons and doing this, because this is where you get audience interaction, especially in voice work. You're in a booth. You're performing in a booth. There's no audience at all. You're just giving it out to the ether, and you're kind of hoping someone's catching it out there. Especially that first season back in 92 when it first went on the air, we didn't know what the response was or anything. I didn't know. But gradually, living in New York, I'd start, like people would be like, I'd start, even then, before the internet, people were aware of who did voices on what. And especially on the subway in New York, it's funny, people be like, are you the Batman guy? And I'm like, yeah. Oh, do the voice.
So we've talked to a lot of voice actors over the past few years who have been doing this for a while, and a lot of them have credited you as one of the reasons why they decided to go into voice acting.
Wow.
Just because you mean so much to them. Does that, have you, speaking to the fans and speaking to other people within the industry, have you gotten used to that idea that people do some of this stuff because of how you touched their lives?
Wow, what a wonderful compliment. Thank you so much. I don't know. I just do what I do, and I try to do it the best I can. If it has a positive effect on people, that's fantastic. I think something that's evolved in voice acting world and the perception of it is that I think maybe when I was growing up with like the Flintstones and the Jetsons, and those were the cartoons. people thought of voice work as making funny voices. Voice actors were a different group of actors. They were their own like stable of actors who could do all these kind of geeky, weird, funny voices and animal noises and all kinds of stuff. That's not the case anymore. It's now everyone wants to do it. So they get everyone in it. You get Danny DeVito in doing a voice, or Robin Williams doing, everyone wants to do them so that you get, it's less seen as making a funny sound, and it's more perceived now as creating an entire character and only having your voice to tell the story. You don't have the luxury of the camera to sell you. Think about when you see a movie, how often you're just looking at no dialogue. You're just looking at faces. You're just looking at interaction from characters. So much of a screenplay, the story of a movie that is written in terms of describing camera shots, describing scene layouts. There's not a lot of dialogue in screenplays. It's not like when you read a play script where it's just 100 pages of dialogue. So it's a very different genre for actors. It's as much about physicality and behavior as it is about vocal acting. But when you do voiceover work, you have none of that luxury. It's only your voice that you have to tell the story. But if you lay it on too heavy, it sounds like cartoon. It sounds unbelievable. But you gotta there's kind of a funny line. It's hard to describe to people. You just kind of juice it a little bit, and you only color it a little bit more without going overboard, and you get it across.
So once, I know you've mostly been doing animated work, but when they called you and they said, hey, we want to do a video game with Batman. Batman games used to notoriously be bad. They were really bad Batman games. But this was one of the first.
That must have been before me.
Oh, way before me.
Were they really? I didn't know.
Yeah, they were. I mean, did anyone play a good Batman game before? Which one? For the Super NES? I don't think that was a very good one. I have a personal opinion. But notoriously, most of the superhero games weren't as fantastic. And when they called you and said, "Hey, we want to do a video game," were you gung ho for that one?
Oh yeah, I love experiencing it differently. But also, I didn't know what I was getting into.
Was it different doing video game versus an animated show?
Unbelievably different. It's night and day. When you do an animated show, first of all, Warner Brothers and Andrea Romano, who's a genius, insists on getting everyone in the room together, which is unique. Most places like to get recordings separately because that way they have a completely perfect recording of your performance without any ancillary sounds. You know what I mean? So they can completely control the recording. If you control all the actors in a booth together, if there's 6 of us in the same sound room, think about it. Everyone's mic is on. So every time a page turns, you might have to do a whole retake if it's not done right, because you've screwed up someone else's take because they heard your page turn. You know what I mean? So there's all this dance that goes on in the studio when there's 6 people in there together. So it's more complicated, and also you can't step on the other actor's line at all. So even when you're acting is as much about reacting as it is acting. It's about what you get. So one thing I love about Mark Hamill so much, he gives you so much. He's such a generous, alive, animated actor that he gives and gives and gives and gives. So there's just so much for me to react to. But acting is really about reacting. So if you're in there with the booth with six other people and you start reacting spontaneously, which is what you want to do, you're going to step on their lines and they're going to have to cut because you can't do that. So there's all this technical kind of language that you have to develop and knowledge about following the impulse, following the reaction, knowing where you're going, but technically keeping it clean, you know what I mean? But anyway, that's what happens when you're in recording studios with all the other actors. So it's like doing a radio play. You do a 2-hour episode, you do a 60-minute episode in 2 hours, and you're done. You're home. You could go in pajamas, you know, you go in, do your job, go home in 2 hours. A game, like Arkham Knight, for example, the third of the trilogy, 36,000 lines of dialogue.
Wow.
In that game. Because think about it, depending on how you play, what choices you make, what rabbit hole you go down, it's going to go a whole different direction. All that's recorded. There's all these thousands of different recording variables that are in there. And they want 3 different takes, and they want 4 different versions of each of the different takes for each line. And because of the way it's built, they need perfectly clean takes. They can't have any other sounds at all. So they have to record separately. Everything has to be done separately. So you're alone in a booth for 4 hours at a time, and then you get an hour for lunch and they bring you in for 4 hours more. And you're keeping the Batman character alive. You're imagining the situation he's in, and you're giving line after line after line after line after line after line. Can you do it with a little more irony? Line after line after line. Keep the irony and give us a little love. I mean, I'm not kidding. It's like you're pulling your hair out by the end of the day. So it's no fun. Recording games is no fun. The fun in recording games is looking at the product at the end and seeing it and saying, oh my God, look what I'm a part of. You know, look what I contributed to. This is so beautiful. But the actual process is kind of like going to the dentist. It's just awful, but you know you got to do it, you know.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now that I specifically bought the game just because you were in it. That's just my... Did you guys play the game?
Yeah, they're awesome games. They're beautiful. And I keep hoping Rocksteady will do another one. But, and I know the fans want another one. But the process of actually creating them is really difficult, which is why they haven't done it.
Yeah. So I'm going to take a couple fan questions.
Great.
One person, or a couple of people have asked, your personal opinion, if it was a real fight between Batman and Superman, who do you think would win?
Well, Superman has those superpowers, so, you know, that's not fair.
True.
But Batman is the great detective. And what we love about him is he uses his wits. So I think Batman would figure out a way to beat Superman. He would come up with a brilliant machine.
Strategy.
Yeah, strategy.
All right, so we have another fan question. Someone asked, out of Batman, the animated series, and even Justice League, which one was more of an emotional, which episode out of those series was an emotional gut punch for you, was hard for you to do?
Well, that's an interesting question.
Because you do become attached to this character. I mean,
yeah, and the thing I love about playing him so much, and the thing that I think you love about him so much, I think he resonates with the audience so much for, is his humanity. He's the only superhero who has no superpowers. All he has is his moral spine, his code, his will, and his wit to do the right thing. And he's so noble about it. It's such a noble cause he's on. And people love that about him. And also because he's so flawed. And he knows that. He knows he's damaged goods. He knows he can't have a personal relationship because he's damaged goods. So that scene in Mask of the Phantasm, when he falls in love. In Mask of the Phantasm, he falls in love with Andrea Beaumont. And he suddenly discovers what life's about. Life's about sharing with someone. Life's about experiencing love. And he doesn't think he can do that because he's made this vow to his parents to avenge their deaths. So he goes to their grave and he asks them to release him from his vow. And acting is a very personal experience. If you really put yourself in the situation, all you can do as an actor is be as open as possible emotionally so that you can just spontaneously go where the character goes. That's all they can teach you in acting school, is how to open up the layers and get to who you are underneath so that you can really react spontaneously. Because you never really know. Human nature is a very strange thing. You may cry when you're saying, I love you. You may laugh when you're saying, I hate you. You know what I mean? There are a million ways to say, I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. I mean, there are a million ways. So it all depends on the situation and what happens to you emotionally in that moment. So all that acting schools can teach you is how to unbury yourself and expose your real emotions, because you never know. So I was at that grave site of my parents, and I was asking my parents to let me go. And for some reason, I went back to my own childhood and dealing with my own father, who I had a very difficult relationship with. And I was asking him, you know, why he was so damaged, why he couldn't give me the love that I needed. And all of that was coming out, and I just lost it. And after the recording, Andrea said, okay, that's it, cut, we're done, perfect, in the can. She came inside, she put her arms around me, she said, I don't know where you just went, I don't know what you were thinking, it was perfect. She said it was perfect. I said, I don't know where I went either. So, you ask about like scenes from favorite shows. Mask of the Phantasm, because of that scene especially, and because of where he goes emotionally about his parents, I love that one. I love that one.
Now, I know fans have asked, give him a round of applause. I know, obviously, people love the voice. They probably expect the voice every time they see you. What's one of the weirdest things that someone has asked you to do in the voice?
I was crossing Broadway. I live in New York. I grew up in New York. I'm a New Yorker! I was crossing Broadway one day, and I hear this police siren go off. It said, pull over. I thought, oh my God, I'm getting a jaywalking ticket in New York? That's all it could be. No one gets jaywalking tickets in New York. Everyone walks everywhere they want. You've ever been to New York? No one gets jaywalking tickets. So I'm thinking, screw this, how can this happen? And then the guy goes, pull over, Batman. And I look at him and he lowers his window and he goes, we want our picture with Batman. I mean, that was wild. So there I am with the cops, you know. So I get stopped in the strangest places. That was one of my favorite ones. Pull over, Batman. What have I been asked to say? I get asked to say all kinds of crazy stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
No one's asked you to officiate the
I've
wedding.
signed body parts.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that happens.
But no one's asked you to officiate their wedding in the Batman voice yet, have they?
Yes.
They have.
Yeah, but I haven't done it because I'm not an ordained anything. But I was an altar boy. I said, does that count? I was an altar boy. No, I was asked, but I couldn't do it because I'm not, it wouldn't be official.
Unofficial. Oh, look, they have, seriously, Am I Blue?
Am I blue?
Yeah!
Am I blue?
What is... Give them a round of applause, guys!
There was a time I was her only one, but now I'm a sad and lonely one. Lonely. Okay.
One more time, Thank you very much for doing that for us. Did you get that meme? Do people? Do you have a Twitter?
I love that.
Yeah.
Real Kevin Conroy on Twitter.
So
Real
you guys
Kevin
can
Conroy.
follow him. But do you get that meme a lot?
Oh, yeah.
People send you.
Oh yeah.
Right.
That's popular.
There was another meme, I've seen it around. I haven't seen it lately, but it was the Batman and Superman meme with the Martha, and it has Just so. Anyway, I like that one. How did you like?
You know what got popular? At one of these Comic-Cons, I came running out on stage and I grabbed Mark Hamill and I dipped him in like a Scarlett O'Hara gone with the hand kind of a thing, and he was like, "Oh, like this," and someone took a picture of it and it went viral.
Really?
And then someone did a cartoon of it, of Batman and Joker in that position, which I have a copy of, which is hysterical.
Someone was asking. Well, it's gone now, but oh well, that's fine. When you ever get to run into Mark Hamill, do you two automatically go at it as Batman and Joker? Which you're just talking about right now.
Yeah, we do.
You
Betty, you're such a bad boy.
Oh, it was Scorpion. How did you enjoy voicing Scorpion for Mortal Kombat?
I love getting the opportunity to do other sounds and other voices.
Yeah, I mean, because you do so many Batman roles that do you forget you do other things sometimes? You're
Captain
like,
Sunshine. Captain Sunshine.
Yeah.
Did anyone watch him? No. It was funny.
Another voice that you like?
Oh wow.
Alien X on Ben 10.
I don't even remember that one. If you say so.
Do you do like a lot of stuff and then someone says, "Oh yeah, you used to do that"? Well, I didn't even know I did that one.
Yeah, it does.
All the time.
People come up with pictures from shows that I did on camera that I have no memory of doing. But I know it's me because that's me in the picture.
So someone asked, any special technique that you use in order to take care of your voice? Because you have to do the Batman voice a lot.
Yeah, it's funny. When I first started doing it, you asked about, did I know I was going to be doing it for 27 years? When you first book the show, all you're booking is 9 episodes, and you don't know what's going to happen. So I came up with this sound, which was basically just crunching down on my vocal cords, which as a stage actor I knew was a terrible thing to do. But I thought, well, I'm never going to have to do it for more than a few minutes, so this is not a problem. Well, by the end of the first season, I was losing my voice, and Andrea Romano comes up and she goes, "Kevin, it doesn't sound the same. What's happening?" And I said, "I'm losing my voice." She said, "It's too late. You can't lose your voice. We've already established the character." So I had to go back to my stage training and figure out a way to create that sound, but still support from my diaphragm.
Yeah.
Which is, you can do, but it takes a little more, thought. And so yeah, you figure these things out.
There was a picture that keeps popping up, and I'm hoping it pops back up again. Let's see, it's that one. I don't know if you can see that one way down there.
Tour of Duty!
Yeah.
That's me on Tour of Duty.
Really?
I was hot.
Can you pick that? Is there any way? There's a picture there, Frank.
I was hot.
They're gonna try to pull up a picture.
Yeah. No, really, I had like a 6-pack. I mean, I had the whole deal.
But when you go in to do voice acting, I mean, they feed you all the time. Oh, there it is. There's the picture.
Look, I mean. I was Rusty Wallace. Captain Rusty Wallace.
Yeah, what are some of your favorite memories from that? Because you don't get the chance to be in front of the camera as much anymore.
No, not at all. Not a long time. It would be fun, but it doesn't happen. It's a cruel business. It's a cruel business. See, there I am.
Yeah, you don't get to be in front of the camera.
No, I know. It would be fun to do it again. I loved playing that character. It was a great character. He was a complicated guy. And,
oh, there it is.
that's what I was just describing to you. He had no idea I was going to do that. I just ran out to the wings and I grabbed him. And he's like, what are you doing? Like this. But Mark is so great, he just went with it.
Can you say Oracle?
What?
Can you say, someone asked if you can say Oracle.
Oracle.
But I mean, you've done it so many times. What's been, I guess, yeah, because most of the time it's either you and the Batman actor or anyone in the Batman animated series cast, which you get to now see everywhere. Mark Hamill, the rest of the voices are out of my mind. But
just hold that thought one second.
Oh, go ahead.
It's a
Sorry.
really funny story. Tour of Duty. It just had a funny story.
Go ahead.
Tour of Duty. That was the hot shot of me. I was Captain Rusty Wallace of a platoon in Vietnam. It was the first Vietnam show on TV, and this was in 85, 86. And I was the captain of the platoon. So they hire all these actors. They bring us over to Schofield Barracks in Hawaii, which is the largest barracks in the country. And it's in a big firing range up in the mountains of Oahu. And they had the military base that we could use. So we were using real military helicopters, real military hardware. And it was, sort of I had never been in the military. I was just missed Vietnam. So I hadn't ever had any experience with any of this stuff. And I'm the captain. So they said, okay, but they hire all these actors out of New York and LA. We're like, oh yeah, I know how to do this stuff. Oh yeah, I can fire a gun. Oh yeah, I know what I'm doing. So then they say, okay, so Kevin, you're Captain Wallace. Your first scene, you're gonna you come in this helicopter. You're gonna fly into this hot landing zone. You're gonna land, jump out of the helicopter, and then you go over and tell the guys, play the scene. But we need the entrance shot. You're gonna come in the helicopter. I go, okay. So I get in the helicopter, and then I looked at the guys, the captain, everyone said, where's the door? Where's the door? There is no door. It's a military helicopter. They're just wide open. So I'm sitting in this thing, and they're shooting me coming in, and as it's coming in, I'm holding on to the side of the thing, and I'm going, whoa! And I hear, cut! The captain can't scream! You're the captain! So that was fun. They had to teach all these New York actors how to, be military.
So we're running out of time, and I still want to get a few more questions in there. Someone asked from the fans, other than Batman the Animated Series Batman, because obviously that one's the best one, who's your other favorite